Hey folks, Dave from Nerdarchy, 4 Nerds by Nerds, hanging out with this nerd.
Nerdarchy Ted.
And today, Nerdarchy asks the question, have your adventurers been naughty again?
Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy, the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
So, crime and punishment in D&D, in your game. So we wanted to talk about it, maybe some alternatives to just jailing, some reasons why you don't want to just jail your players, or you maybe reasons to come up with more interesting solutions.
Well, I mean, how many times have we heard, emails come in, messages on social media of like, how do I stop my players from becoming murder hobos? What do I do to discourage them? What can I do here? What can I do there? And, I think some of this stuff is some good ideas to keep the game flowing and discourage at the same point in time.
Well, so some of the things that should probably come up, especially if your adventuring party is new to a particular town or city. Yeah, villages, may not come up as much, but definitely like in a new town or city, if it's walled and you have people that actually guard the way in and the way out, there's a couple things that can happen right there, really. That doesn't necessarily speak to crime and punishments per se, but it does speak to the fact what's acceptable, what isn't. Like if you're coming into town and they have a tariff on adventurers, right? A tax, just because, well, lets you know that your type isn't really all that welcome here, or it's just another way that they raise taxes. Along with that might come like weapon bonding. Or binding, I should say. So the idea that if swords and knives and stuff like that, you might have to wear a peace bond on it. Weapons are restricted in a way that they're not easily drawn, and that kind of sends a message when you're coming through town or coming into town that violence is not accepted here, is not appreciated, and is not wanted. The other thing is, what about if you're coming in and after you've paid your tariff or your tax, or the guard is letting you through, and they're like, oh, and by the way, posted just inside the gates here is the actual laws of the town or city. Like here are the laws that we expect you to abide by, and here's a list of the punishments for the crimes as well. So this could also be a thing. It could be a neat handout that you give to your players. Like you print something out, and if you don't want to read it off to them, or maybe you do, but either way, you can hand it out so they have a copy of these are the laws, and here's the punishment you can expect if you get caught breaking these laws. That also kind of like limits the idea of the murder hobo that wants to accuse you of just punishing them as the DM, where you're like, no, you got caught stealing, and like I gave you the thing. It says the law for stealing is we cut off your offhand. So they have an idea and they chose to take the risk anyway.
Right. So I think there's a lot to be said there. As Dave says, this will absolutely give that credence to, well, you've been warned and you went ahead with it anyway. It does remove the whole element of someone being targeted, and you go in there and, well, hey guys, as a DM, this is what I want to do with this particular town. Here's reasons why. And, hopefully for the players that might be more inclined to go in this kind of direction, maybe they'll second guess their decisions and maybe choose to do it at another time or another place.
Also, I kind of like the idea in a really like corrupt town or city. Of the fact that it's not so much that they care if you're committing crimes or not for the most part, but it's very fine heavy. So it's almost like the way the government will use to raise money, and it becomes like the cost of business. And now that being said, in a city or a town like that, chances are there are people you don't want to run afoul, and either the penalties might be stricter for them, or they may take things into their own hands, or they may actually be controlling those governing bodies that are making the laws and producing the punishments. So you might get hit with a more severe punishment because not only did you commit the crime, but you committed it against a person that's really powerful.
So fines are a great way. It's going to reduce party resources, and it's like, all right, well, oh well, you don't have the coin to pay off this steep fine. Oh well, now you need to go work for that person, or you need to go work for the town, and maybe they don't have a general workforce, and it is through these heavy fines that they get their major export you know, worked on. Oh well, you're gonna go cut down trees, or you're gonna go mine, or you're gonna go work this exhausting thing from sun up to sundown, so you don't have time to go cause trouble anywhere else.
Right. Or like normally we would have you do that thing, but we're actually having a problem over in the woods where we normally do our logging from, and we don't want to expend any of our soldiers or our watch. So we're going to send you into that dangerous situation to solve the problem, and we can call it quits from there. Also, too, like if there's a seedy underbelly or a criminal element to this town or city, by and your players kind of have that bent anyway, you can introduce them to them. There can be role playing, and then they might also get a list of like the who's who. So then they know, and I would do this if your players are ones that are going to commit crimes anyway. I would try and do this anyway so that they get the who's who of, well, these are the people you should really not mess with. So it further reinforces the fact that, no, like I said, I told you like these are the people that are usually hands off even by the other criminals. And if you choose to do it anyway and something really bad happens to you, it's not my fault, as a DM, depending on how murder hobo your party is.
Right. But speaking of parties, maybe we should have a Nerdarchy party.
Well, we could with Nerdarchy swag. We got hats, t-shirts, sweatshirts, and even Nerdarchy the thong over at the store.
So if you want to, get together with your group of friends, have a Nerdarchy party, head over to the store, check out the awesome stuff that's there, and support your Nerdarchy gear.
All right, so let's we talked about some things that could happen, but what about different punishments, other alternate punishments? I mean, we talked about fines, dismemberment. It used to be fairly popular. We talked about maybe making them do tasks or work for them, or even go on adventures and quests.
Well, that service, is something that could be done. You could literally have this be, well, all right, you screwed up last session, so the hook that you didn't bite on last time, I'm making you do it now in order to pay for your thing, because this needs to be done for the town. So either pony up to 500 gold, or go kill that thing that's roaming around the woods, and voila, this could be an easy way that you've got a quest giver. Maybe what they did was so severe that it's going to be multiple tasks that they need to do, and it'll get them in line, to the way of thinking that you want these characters to be.
And another thing is, public, public humiliation. It was another method, and we've seen it in different places as well. But that could it could be flogging, it could be head shaving, it could be like a walk of shame from Game of Thrones that we saw.
Shame.
Or there was the Dark Crystal. I know we're going back a little ways from this.
Well,
when the one Skeksis was kind of banished, but the first thing they did is they kind of like all like mobbed him and ripped off all of his finery and left him naked and then cast him out. So this form of public shaming and humiliation could be another thing, because now when you go back to the town, and remember, you were the one that was forced to take the walk of shame, and now maybe people make fun of you and taunt you and mock you when you come to that town. So there's a little bit of that going on. Also, what about just like markings in general, right? This is in a magic world. You could be magically marked. And I've actually had this happen to one of my characters when we used a moneylender. Like, we were magically marked until we finished paying off Rufus. The money we had borrowed. They might put a mark on your forehead and you can't cover it up. Like it burns its way through, hats and scarves or anything you try and cover it up with. So whenever you go back to that place, like they know you're a thief, or they know you're whatever you were convicted of.
So like, along with that list that you had brought up in the beginning, like there could be, sigils of identification, and this brand marks thief, this brand marks brigand, this brand marks murderer, and whether it's put on, the arm, the hand, the forehead, it could be out there, and maybe there's no easy way to get it removed, short of whatever rules and stipulations that you want to have.
Well, actually, that's a fun idea, Ted, because what if you do the brand mark and yet there's a system for it, right? And once you've been convicted of it, you have the mark, they don't take it off of you. Some punishments are going to be capital offenses, right? Well, if you see someone with that mark on, that means they did not pay for their crime. And there not only is there, the crime listed, the mark listed, the penalty listed, but the reward would be listed as well because oh, wait a minute, I saw that mark before. Oh, he's a murderer and he's still alive. That means, there's a bounty on his head. He's worth 500 gold or whatever it is, so. So it could be a plot device as well as a hook in your game.
Right. So all of these things wind up taking you down new and interesting roads. It's a way for your players to realize that you're not playing games. You do expect the characters to be more heroic, but it also makes the world that much more enriched. And having these sets of laws and guidelines so that we know, all right, we're in civilized society. I can't just do whatever I want whenever I want.
I love the branding system you came up with. I think it's a great idea. In my mind is just reeling with the adventures I could tell with that. Whether it's looking for someone who's been branded to be brought to justice, whether it's someone that's been falsely accused and now they wear the mark that is basically their death sentence, or villains want you to do something for them and they've marked you with it because they've figured out how to forge it. Or if someone is out there that's able to actually remove the marks and they have to be brought to justice. Like just from that thread, I in my mind leaps like 4 or 5 plots that I could instantly insert into a game.
Well, I mean, you could take the one who's falsely accused, and he's trying to find somebody that can have it removed. Like you as you said, there's so many different ways that there's twists and turns that you could take with this.
Question is, would you guys, or are you guys or gals using something like this in your games already? We got a place where we can talk about it. That is down in the comments below. While you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
You can check us out over on nerdarchy.com.
So until next time,
stay nerdy.